Martin, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hi, Austin. Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Strong here. Unfortunately, our other co-host Pedro Heiser is not here today. He's got some big life changes going on. He's getting married, so congratulations to him. But the show still goes on, of course. So I'm here with you again, Austin Robillard, and I'm joined by a very special guest today, Martin Bater. Right, Bater?
Yeah,
Okay,
Martin
perfect.
Bater or Martin Bader, whatever you want.
Uh,
It's fine
I
by me.
try. I try. So we're here to talk more soccer or football, however you want to say it. There's a lot. There's been a lot going on. We haven't had a show in a little while. A lot of Inter Miami news, a lot of European football news, and MLS news in general. The final was yesterday, but we're gonna start with Martin's specialty here. He just did an article posted on Five Reasons website about the UCL and where he thinks people are going to end up, who's going to win, all of his predictions and stuff like that. Unfortunately, he's 0 for 1. We both thought Atalanta were going to win today, but PSG show up with a major, major, major win. Let's talk about that. So PSG, 2 goals, 90th minute. What happened?
What happened? It was the combination of an epic choke and an epic comeback. There is no other way to describe it. Atalanta did everything right for 88 minutes. They deserved to win. I mean, they were as close to putting the match away as as I have ever seen this team be in control of a match against a powerhouse like PSG. But in the end, Atalanta ran out of gas. Really, you could see it in the last 15 minutes, and the talent just prevailed. Really, and you have to give credit to Paris Saint Germain for never giving in. And after tying the match up, they didn't back down. They weren't like, okay, let's go to extra time. No, they went and they tried to win it, which they did. It reminded me of the Flamengo River the Copa Libertadores final last year, where
Yeah.
River was winning one nothing, and Flamengo tied it in the 88th. They won it in the 90th with Gabigol. So it was deja vu for me, really, as an Argentinian.
Ugh.
But well deserved win by PSG. It's a shame that Bergamo, a city that was awaiting this so much for as a pick me up for everything that the coronavirus did to that city, and the heartbreak. I mean, I can't imagine. They must not be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah, it was definitely tough. It was definitely hard to watch Atalanta, as the minutes were going on. You could see players getting tired. Duvan Zapata getting subbed off. He was absolutely drained of energy. And one thing I'll say about Atalanta is they're probably one of, if not the best attacking teams in Europe, and they have been all year. 98 goals or almost 100 goals in Serie A, and they only finished third, but they scored I think almost 20 more goals than the title winners Juventus. So they didn't back away from that. Even when they were up 1-0 in the 70th, in the 80th, in the 85th minute, they were still on the attacking front and they were still pushing people forward. Usually, when you're going against talent like Neymar and Mbappe, um, you're probably going to drop back and rely on your defenders and try and just hold out to see the win. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Neymar, does what Neymar does. He missed, great chances in the first half, but he still had a great performance. And his great performance ended up turning into a couple of goals for Marquinhos and Choupo-Moting. And it was tough to watch as a neutral fan because you want to see the story of a smaller side in Atalanta go on through that. But like you said, talent prevails. And sadly for Atalanta, they'll be knocked out, but they have a lot to look forward to with a really strong side.
And they'll be back next year. They finished third in the Serie A this season, so they will be back next year and build on this very positive experience that they had. And look, their coach said that he wasn't afraid of losing. He was afraid of disappointing his fans, the team's fans, by betraying their identity. And they certainly didn't betray it. They were as offensive as it gets. They actually defended very smartly in the second half. Up until they lacked energy and their legs gave out, they were really solid, and PSG really didn't bother them that much in the second half up until that point. So kudos to Atalanta for a great run to the Elite Eight, to the quarterfinals. They made it to Lisbon in a way that the defending champion couldn't. So no regrets, I don't think, for them. It's a lesson learned for the next edition, which I think will see them as protagonists once again, unless there's a massive exodus. And besides, think about it, they didn't even have their top scorer, who was back at home because of depression. So if they had had their striker, maybe things would have been different too. But that's a what if that we'll never know.
Yeah, Ilicic is a major, major, major key to that team, and they didn't have him, and they still fought, and they fought, and they fought, but unfortunately it didn't turn out. We're going to move on to tomorrow's game and talk about Leipzig versus Atletico Madrid. What do you expect to see in this game?
I expect to see the opposite of what we saw today. Instead of offense all around, it's going to be defense. It's going to be a tactician's dream. And I think Simeone has the upper hand in that aspect. And besides, Atletico has way more experience as far as comparing to Leipzig in these do or die situations. Atletico is much more experienced. It's still going to be a really close match. I remember that Leipzig doesn't have Timo Werner anymore, so that's also as big a key as Atalanta not having their striker. So I don't think Atletico wins going away. It's gonna be like a 1-0 score, but it's not gonna be like 1-0 where you're kind of biting your nails. It's gonna be like Atletico manages the match the way Simeone wants to, and then they advance to the semifinals once again.
Yeah, I think that it's just going to come down to quality here. And Simeone, we know he's a tactical mastermind, and he's done so well with Atletico Madrid over the years. And he doesn't have the exact, he doesn't have the quality that he's used to having. But like you said, Werner leaving Leipzig kind of takes this pressure off of Simeone having to come up against a striker like that. Not to say Leipzig don't have great attackers, but I think you're right. It's going to be a tactical game. I think we're going to see a lot of defense. And not as many chances as we saw today. Even though the scoreline was 2-1, we know that there were a lot more chances now. I think they each had 5 shots on target, about 10 shots each in total. So, I mean, we're going to see a lot of attack. We're going to see a lot of defending play, unlike today. And I think Atletico will come out. I think it being only one game does apply a lot of pressure. We're used to seeing 2 legs in a round like this, but having only one leg, getting down towards the end of the game, maybe the game opens up a bunch if it's close and people try and get the goal. Not totally sure what's going to happen there if it's close during the end, but I think Atletico will see this through pretty simply. I would expect a couple goals. I would say a 2-0 game would be, probably most realistic with Atletico going through.
And let's remember, it's one leg on a neutral site. There's no home field advantage for anybody. It's in Lisbon, Portugal. The whole entire rest of the tournament is going to be in that bubble. So there is no crowd cheering you on in the Metropolitano or in Germany or anywhere else, really. So that's also a factor. But again, Simeone and Atletico Madrid, they don't need any external factors to be pumped up. That's in their DNA. That's not a worry for me. And besides, look, I can't see a team that has an energy drink as a logo being in the Champions League semifinals. I'm sorry, that's just a prejudice that I have.
It's definitely weird, and they've taken over so many clubs around the world. It's kind of insane. I mean, they have Salzburg, they have a team in Brazil, they have a Red Bull. I don't understand it, never will. But listen, it is what it is. I don't think they're going to move on, but maybe we'll be surprised. We never know.
So then we'll have in the Club World Cup, we'll have the New York Red Bulls, Red Bull Leipzig, and the Brazilian Red Bull team. So it's going to be sponsored by
Red Bull,
Monster Energy Drink, complete 180.
Oh man, can you imagine? Wow. So you did a piece on the UCL, right? And you talked about your predictions and stuff going on. Did you talk about the winner in that piece?
No, but the winner that I believe will be lifting the trophy is in that piece, and that's the team that we just talked about, Atletico Madrid.
Really?
I think that Barcelona is stumbling a little bit. Bayern Munich, I think, is gonna have a tough time with Barcelona in this leg. In fact, I predicted that Barcelona, because of an inspiring Messi, is gonna overcome the rare match that has them as an underdog, actually, both in the odds and in the public's mind. So, but I'm not gonna bet against an inspiring Messi with Barcelona. But it's not like Messi with Argentina. I think he's going to be a big key in pulling off the mild upset there. But again, considering that maybe you think of Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Barcelona as the 3 main contenders, don't forget that Atletico Madrid has played 2 finals very recently. Simeone as a coach has a lot of experience. The team as a whole has a lot of experience. And in a neutral side, I like them I like them to finally come through in their third try.
I will disagree with you here. I think that Bayern
That's
is a
right.
little too strong and a little too deep. I think that I do agree that Messi is going to have to play inspired in order to get a win. The Barca team has been struggling a little bit since the restart. They ended up losing the league to Madrid. I think Bayern will get out of that matchup, and I think City will get past Lyon, even though that's another crazy
Oh,
run
that's a
that we
given.
didn't expect to
That's a
see.
given to me. Yeah,
Well,
Leon was
was
barely lucky. Instead of barely lucky, barely lucky to to
listen,
advance.
they did surprise us against Juve big time. So I don't know. I hope they give City a run for their money as a Manchester United fan, just to see the demise of City. But I think City will get passed through, and that'll be a really cool semifinal. City and Bayern. I think just Bayern has way too much firepower. Even City, if they got there, I think they would beat Atletico. But you're right about the experience. The experience with Atletico is massive. Simeone's been there before a couple of times. He's done this. He knows exactly what the UCL is all about. And being at a neutral site in a semifinal and again in the final, as it's always been, maybe we'll cater to them. But honestly, I see Bayern getting through. I think the likes of Lewandowski is just, and that great defense that we've seen all year from them has been way, way, way too powerful. And I don't know how a team that's still remaining has enough to beat them other than Barcelona.
Oh, I'm not doubting the capabilities of Bayern Munich. I mean, Lewandowski is probably the best striker in the world, or right, I actually think Benzema is right up there with him.
Agreed.
But Real Madrid is not in the competition anymore, so he's clearly the best striker remaining. And on paper, Bayern Munich is the Dodgers of the Champions League. They don't have a weakness. All I'm putting my not my hopes, but my reasoning behind the Barcelona win is that Barcelona still has the best player in the world, and that counts for something. It's like Maradona playing for Napoli or playing for Santos. It's a kind of an X factor that you just can't put away. Some way, somehow, he's gonna come up with the match tied at 2, and or like against, remember that friendly Argentina Brazil 4-3 in the 90th minute that he went around like 4 Brazilians and then put in the top corner. Well, kind of like that, where Argentina had no business winning that much, and yet they did because of Messi. Well, kind of sort of like that.
Yeah. I would never ever put something like that past probably the greatest player we'll ever see play the game. So that could be a possibility.
No. Maradona is the best ever. We can have the argument in another edition, but no. Maradona is
we'll
the best
bring Martin back on the show to talk about the greatest footballer of all time for sure. So you think Atletico is going to win? I think Bayern will win. I actually think the winner will come out of this Barca Bayern matchup that we're going to see in a couple of days. But we'll move on from the Champions League and we'll get right back to home. We're going to talk a little bit about the MLS. The final was last night. Portland ended up beating the Cinderella story Orlando in the final 2-1. Orlando, as you know, were in the group with Inter Miami. And, we lost the first game. Orlando had won, and they were just so consistent all the way through to the final. Unfortunately, they lost for their fan base. But Portland was a much stronger side. And I think that Orlando probably has a lot to look forward to. Nani looks inspired. He's been carrying this team a lot. Pereira and Moutinho also look really good. So it's going to be tough coming back because Miami will have to play them in the coming days, but we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about this final. Portland ends up winning. They get a bunch of prize money and they get into a CONCACAF Champions League spot. Do we expect them to do anything going forward in the actual MLS season?
Actually, the prize money I don't think was that large. It was like $1 million.
Yeah, I think it was like $1 million
compared to the Champions League or to the Copa Libertadores or CONCACAF Champions League. No, it's all about the TV money for the MLS, really. But I mean, in this final, I'm sorry, but you could see. I mean, when you compare the level of play in Atalanta, PSG today, and the final last night, there is like you could see the gap in quality. Nothing against the MLS; it's just evident. Yeah. But like you said, Portland was better overall than Orlando, but they needed 2 set pieces to be able to win, and that's also but that's a virtue, I think, by Portland to be able to take advantage of a set piece like they did with Valeri and then on the corner kick, because that makes a difference in do or die situations. In the World Cup, we saw the same thing, how the set piece was important. So kudos to them for taking advantage of it. And look, Inter Miami lost in the 97th minute to the finalists. So that bodes well for a team that didn't have much to be happy about lately. So maybe, that's something to build on. And Orlando City did a great job during this tournament. From the group stage up to the final, like you said, Nani was inspired. They had a solid, a solid defense, and they couldn't come through with that big goal after they tied it up and they had the momentum. So Portland has a history since 2010 in this decade of being a winning club. So I'm not surprised that they ended up coming out on top here, even though the favorite was probably LAFC and they went out early.
Yeah, to Orlando, might I add, on penalties. But yeah, it was inspiring from Orlando. I think they have a lot to look forward to. And Portland have always been, that top team, one of the top teams in MLS. And I would have expected a Portland win. I would have wanted a Portland win as an Inter Miami fan, and that's what we got. But let's move on to the hometown team, Inter Miami. Really, really, really big news coming in the last couple of days. And even, there was another thing added. Blaise Matuidi ends up signing for Inter Miami, a World Cup winner, a Serie A maestro in a sense. I mean, he is one of the best midfielders in that league, and he has been for so long. He's 33 years old. He started about 26 games for the title winners in Juventus. I don't think that his quality has dipped at this age yet. I think he still has a lot to show. And for coming in from Europe and going to the MLS is one thing. We see a lot of older players do that, and we have before, but this guy is still at a really good point in his career, to a point where he can start 26 games for a team like Juventus in the midfield. So this is not a signing like Wayne Rooney to DC United, who's had his career dipping down. This is a signing that's really going to make a true impact. Not that Wayne Rooney didn't make an impact. He was a great player in MLS, and that just goes to show, like you were saying, the European quality compared to MLS, you can't compare. So getting a player like this in the midfield, where Inter Miami have had a lot of trouble protecting the back line and things like that, Matuidi will absolutely do that for you. What do you think Matuidi is going to bring to this team that we didn't have before?
I absolutely love this addition for a couple of reasons. The first is that, like you said, he has a lot to give. And I compare it to how when Carlos Tevez went to Boca Juniors from Juventus, he had a lot more to give. He was at a great level in 2016 and 2017 before he left for China, and then he came back. He did, but regardless, I'm saying that he can be a quality addition. That yes, but that he can be a quality addition that gives this Inter Miami squad the know-how of what it takes to win as a world champion, and also the versatility of being able to play in multiple spots. He can be a rough and tumble defensive midfielder. He can be a left back. He can be an attacking winger. I actually think that he actually was used as an attacking winger by France in the 2018 World Cup.
He played left wing at some points, and it wasn't something that we had seen from Matuidi before, and it worked to perfection almost.
Yeah, so he's a Swiss Army knife of football, and that works perfectly for Alonso. And also, I think that he's gonna provide the kind of leadership that this team was sorely lacking during the MLS's back tournament, and that's gonna be a huge key in getting back up and getting that first win more than anything at home when they come back in a couple of days.
Yeah, Matuidi. One thing I was a little worried about when the signing was first announced, not that I didn't love it off the bat, no matter what happened, but the way that they signed him was through targeted allocation money, meaning a bunch of things when it comes to money, and that we have a lot of room for players. But the big thing to take away from that is that we still have an extra DP slot. So we still have another bunch of money to spend on one of these international players that we can bring in. They won't be charged against the salary cap. They will be another Rodolfo Pizarro, in a sense that his salary won't go against the budget, so it wouldn't hurt us. So Paul McDonough has done a madness here by signing him as a TAM player, because he's coming from Juventus where he was making $9 million a year. That in an MLS budget is insane. It's almost about 20 to 25% of what the actual budget is. So signing him as a TAM player and bringing that money down is massive, and still saving a slot to bring in a designated player is huge. Hopefully they spend that on a 9. We need a 9. We know that, but I think Matuidi fixes so much in the midfield that we lacked when it comes to what we saw in the tournament. Ulloa and Trapp were not what we saw in the first two games against both LAFC and DC. They were really strong there, and when it came to the tournament, they lacked quality and let the ball get through them a lot. The midfield, we had no midfield play. As much as we dominated LAFC and DC United in the midfield, we didn't see that in the tournament, and Matuidi will bring that in and be one of the most, if not the most, solid midfielder in MLS when he comes. Whether he plays a CDM role or moves on to the left side, like you said, it fits in perfectly to Diego Alonso because he likes to move players around. Now he has two players like Pizarro and Matuidi who can play multiple positions, who can move around the field. And I think Matuidi will also take a lot off of Pizarro's workload. We saw down the stretch in games, Pizarro was the one running up and down the pitch, trying to win the ball back. And that's not his natural position. He's a number 10. He's a guy that likes to stay forward, make the ball, and create plays, not try and win it back. Someone at the quality of Matuidi's level is going to be able to do that for him and let him stay in the middle to the upper half of the pitch where he can actually receive the ball at his feet and start to create plays. So that is something to look forward to. Matuidi, he'll slot right into the starting lineup if we can get him here in time. I'm not sure what's going on with that. We still have about 2 or 3 weeks until we actually start playing games. But Matuidi, what a signing. Thank you, Paul McDonough, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So anyway,
and if I can actually make another point, that is that if you notice, Inter Miami is going in a counter current to the rest of the league, where the MLS is very much offense oriented, and Miami is bringing in Gonzalez Pires, Figal, Matuidi. They're focusing on defense, so it's kind of like they're the Baltimore Ravens of the MLS, because as the whole league is trying to find their number 10, their number 7, their number 9, and trying to score as many goals as possible. LA Galaxy. Miami is trying to be the opposite and be a solid team that keeps a clean sheet first and scores second.
Yeah, the defense that Paul McDonough has built is not what we saw originally when he built a team like Orlando and Atlanta. Atlanta, he built all of these play. He built a team with Joseph Martinez and Ezekiel Barco and all of these players that are really good on the attacking side. And when it came to him to start building Inter Miami as the football director, he decided to go more defensive. He got Figal, he got Torres, he drafted a right back, he brought in a veteran in Ben Sweat, Alvis Powell, AJ De La Garza. A defense that was so, it was excited to see that a defense was being built and a strong one, because in the MLS, the defenses lack a lot. And we see a lot of goals and a lot of, mishaps on defense. Then
childish mistakes. That's why I call them.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And then they go on to bring in a center defensive mid like Matuidi and Pires. Are you kidding me? Figal Pires, that's going to be one of the best center back pairings if Figal can actually find himself in MLS. I think he didn't struggle a bit in the tournament, but he's probably my favorite player to watch because he's so aggressive in the way he plays. He likes to go after players, make the tackles. He likes to even move forward, like a Sergio Ramos almost. That's who I kind of compare him to. Not as strong, I would say, but he does like to get physical. So. Pires, Figal, Matuidi, that triangle in the back. If Matuidi plays in the defensive mid role, I think it'll be Louis Robles will be very well protected. I'll say that much.
Hopefully, that's the idea.
And we need it because Robles hasn't been great, and he didn't show anything great in the tournament. So the first 6 games for Inter Miami were announced. I think the opening game is on August 22nd at home at Lockhart or Inter Miami Stadium. I'm always going to call it Lockhart. But they're playing Orlando City. First match August 22nd. What do we expect to see from that game from the runners-up of the MLS back final tournament?
I'll always have fond memories of Lockhart Stadium. That's where I started my journalism career as a stringer for the Miami Herald. Shout out to Joseph Goodman, actually, if he's watching. And the predictions for the first 6 games, well, it's really good that they're starting at home against Orlando City and Atlanta United. Atlanta United didn't win a single match either in the MLS's back tournament, so I expect them to bounce back as well. But my prediction is not going to be as much win-loss, because for a team that's 0-5, it will be daring and frankly kind of senseless to say, oh, they're gonna go 4-2. I don't know. They were supposed to win a match in the MLS's back tournament, and they didn't. So I'm not gonna go that way. What I want to see is improvement on the pitch. I want to see a defense that's cohesive, a midfield that's active, and forwards like Carranza and Agudelo and Morgan that are more threatening and active than they were during the group stage. That's what I want to see. The results are going to come on their own after that. But making a win-loss prediction right now for a team that's 0-5, no, thank you.
No, I definitely.
Even though they should be Nashville, they should be an expansion team like Nashville. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think Nashville is playing right now. I don't know exactly what the score is, but we'll get that for you.
I don't even think their grandma is watching. Don't worry.
We have a lot to prove. I'll say that much. I think that these first 5 games, where every single game was lost by only 1 goal, and to a certain degree, we were in every single game up to a certain point. A lot of the players we'll discuss. I think it was Will Trapp who said it best about how all of our games have come down to individual mistakes, and that needs to be limited. We do need to see a lot more team cohesion. I want to see more interplay. I want to see more, chemistry, and I want to be assured that this is an actual team, not just a bunch of individuals. Alonso has a certain style of play that kind of suits that in a way where he needs to have players move around a lot. Everybody needs to be kind of versatile because they're going to be doing a lot of different things when they're slotted into a starting 11. So hopefully they can come out and prove that in the first 6 games. Being 0-5, kind of, I don't know, do you lose pressure or does it add more? That's up for debate. I don't know how badly at this point we need to win a game. Other than I would rather just see a great performance and not see as many individual mistakes. If we can take strides forward, I'll be a lot happier because my expectations for this team are extremely low now, being 0-5, honestly. And I don't know exactly what I want to see other than strides of improvement and quality of play and Matuidi really just turning around this team.
Look, they're lucky that there is no relegation because if there was, there will be serious pressure to just get a win no matter what.
Alonso wouldn't be here if there were relegation. If there were relegation, I think here's the thing about the relegation in like, European leagues and South American leagues are massive.
Everywhere else in the world, really. This is the MLS and Mexico are the only ones that don't have relegation. Well, Argentina doesn't have relegation, but just for a year because they need to get their finances together. Correct. But they're going to have relegation again. Mexico and the MLS are the only ones that don't have relegation, and I don't understand why. Because it takes away from the competitive aspect. What reason do you have to watch Inter Miami this season when they're 0-5 and they don't really play for anything? Yeah, they could make a miraculous playoff run, but outside of that, there's no reason. And relegation, I think, raises the tide for everybody. It doesn't lower it. But I understand it's a whole thing about investments and the TV rights and everything like that. That it's been set to death. You're either pro relegation or anti relegation, and it's very much politicized. So I'm not going to argue with that because I am pro relegation. I was raised in a country that had relegation. I'm used to it, and I know the pain, the anguish, the anxiety, but also the excitement that can bring. So, but then again, who am I to judge? If the league grows and it becomes popular without relegation, then good for it. I think there should be, but that's neither here nor there.
I agree 100%. I think it makes league play more beautiful than just having a team that can be 0-5 and not have to worry about anything other than their fans being upset. They're not going to lose money. They're not going to gain, but they're probably going to just keep on gaining money because we're in such a crazy market. But that's the MLS way. They have a bunch of rules and roster relegations and all of these different things that not a lot of people can totally understand. But if I honestly, if there were relegation, I think Alonso would be really in the hot seat. 0-5 to come out and you actually put together a team that has talent, but you've done absolutely nothing with it. Is a little scary. I think that Alonso has done great for this team, though. I think that tactically he's almost spot on. It just has come down to individual mistakes time and time again. We are unlucky to come away with points against both LA and DC, and if we were to come away with points again in both of those games, we wouldn't be having a discussion about being 0-5. So it would be totally different, and the landscape and looking forward to this team would be totally different. So. But the first 6 games, 2 against Nashville, 2 against Atlanta, 2 against Orlando. I know you don't want to make your predictions, but I would be extraordinarily happy with 3-3.
Well, you can also like, okay, if you want me to go on a limb, let's say, okay,
I know you're the predicting
the
master over
first
here.
match,
You like
the first match at home, I can see how they're pumped up, and it's a rematch against Orlando City. Okay, let's give them a win. Atlanta United, the second match and lost. Then you have, I believe they could draw at Nashville, and then they could win here. So that's 2-1 and 1. And then at Orlando and at Atlanta, they snatch a draw in one of the two and they lose the other one. So 2-2 and 2 there.
okay.
Very Dolphins like, very mediocre, but and that's being kind of generous. But yeah, that's, I mean, if you want me to kind of do the psychic thing, that's the way I see it.
All right. Well, that works for me. I would take that as well. I didn't even come to consider draws because we can't even draw a game at this point. So I'm expecting a win or a loss, but that's just how the team has been. Martin, anything else to add on Inter Miami? Are you totally excited to see them get back on the pitch?
I'm excited just to see sports with the way that we have the sports landscape right now, with college football falling apart, the NFL as a question mark, baseball having 20 straight days of postponements. I mean, if the MLS can pull this off with the travel and everything, I'll be happy. I'm skeptical about anything that doesn't transpire in a bubble right now. The bubble worked, no question. Now, the MLS regular season remains to be seen, because remember, even in the bubble, the MLS had to kick out Dallas and Nashville because they had positives. So if by mid-September the MLS is still going, I'll be happy. So I'll take the first if the first 6 matches are completed, great. So I'll just take each match as it comes. Really, there is no other way to see it.
I don't know how the USL has done it with the limited funding, but if MLS can't do it with the funding that they have, I think it just they've done the bubble and it worked, and now they're going to try and move on to a USL style where USL actually has people even at games, which is kind of crazy to me. But if they can mirror that, I think it would work. USL started off with a little bit of issues, but it's kind of fallen off. So if we can mirror that, that would be perfect, and Inter Miami soccer would be back. For Martin Bater, I'm Austin Robillard. This is 90 Minutes Strong. Make sure to check out his work over on 5reasonsports.com. Read up on his piece on the UCL. I know he's probably going to have a lot more coming too as the games transpire and the tournament goes on. And hopefully we can have you on the show again, Martin. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, anytime. And hopefully we get to enjoy a lot more high quality soccer this week. It's going to be fun.
I agree. Thank you so much, Martin.
Thank you.